Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the COP update from the LFC Daytrippers. This is a new show that we're going to try do daily between Monday and Friday in the every week, if possible. The idea of this show is to bring you some Liverpool news, have a little chat with people in the chat with regards to it as well, and just have a half an hour of chatting about the Reds, the latest news, and whatever comes up on the chat too, if that's all right. So. There's a few bits to talk about today. There's people in the chat. If you're in the chat, go ahead and throw stuff in there. If you've heard any news with regards to Liverpool, throw it in and we'll have a discussion about it. And we'll see how we get on. So, some stuff from Liverpool FC. We're going to definitely talk in the next half an hour about FSG, the January transfer window, what we should and shouldn't be doing. Absolutely go, and we're going to have a big chat, the majority of the half an hour probably, about that. And we've put a poll on or we've put a comment in our community on YouTube asking, do you think FSG will spend? And if you were looking for a realistic window, what would it be? A realistic window, taking everything into consideration, not just, sell him and buy him and him, because I don't think it comes across that simple. So if you have any comments on that, you can go into our community tab on YouTube and you can have a chat in there about it as well after this show, of course. If you're here and you haven't hit the like button yet, go ahead and hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you want to share, you can absolutely share as well. So what I want to start off with is a loan player that's been brought back to the club in Leighton Clarkson, who was on loan at Blackburn Rovers. Had a little look into this. He's been recalled, and I think the timing of it with the League Cup coming up is interesting. The general thoughts of Blackburn fans online from this news was, look, he looked a decent player, he looked a good player, started off quite well. Blackburn, he kind of fell out of favour, and Blackburn got into a good run of form and he struggled to get back into the side. Looked a bit lightweight at times, but look, he's a very young guy going into the championship level, so it's one of those where he's being recalled. And I think Liverpool are trying to get as many numbers as they can together for this game against Arsenal on Thursday. Everything that's happened with COVID, I think that's going to affect how we look at this League Cup thing. And I think it may be the same for Arsenal, who may have to rest some as well. But Leighton Clarkson has been recalled from Blackburn Rovers on loan. So now, having said that, he could come back for this League Cup and go back out on loan. But it might be one of those where it's just a case of numbers for the League Cup, because, as Kev said in the show last night, I think we're up to 11 players out now. So the numbers are quite high. And you know what, a couple more COVID cases and we could be in the territory where games are being called off. Although my feelings on it is we should always have enough players to put out on the pitch, but you have to look at priorities as well, I suppose. The AFCON guys are gone now for the foreseeable. Mo Salah, Naby Keita and Sadio Mane head off to the AFCON with their respective countries, and they're going to miss some games. They genuinely are. So if we look at it here, we have Arsenal in the League Cup away. We have home to Shrewsbury, away, or home to Arsenal again in the return of the League Cup semi-final, home to Brentford, and away to Palace. That looks like the games that they will miss. Our next game at the Palace is scheduled for February the 10th, and they should be back by then. Best of luck to them. Best of luck to them going to the AFCON, and I think they'll all do quite well at it. To be honest, I think their countries will do quite well. So let's wish them some luck in that. The transfer stuff has gone mad. I'm gonna be honest. It's gone crazy. I've had a quick look this morning. An interesting one that Keith showed me was Agibu Kamara, 20-year-old from Guinea, an attacking midfielder / winger. Olympiacos value him at £15 million. Keith just threw that at me before we come on live and said that's an interesting one that he read. He didn't tell me where he read it from, but he did throw it out there. So Agibu Kamara, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Agibou Kamara, Camara, 20, from Guinea, attacking midfielder or winger, valued at £15 million by Olympiacos. Some of the other names being thrown out there, Rafinha, the Express report that Rafinha still holds massive interest for Liverpool, but the usual lines of, maybe too complicated for a January deal, and they might have to wait till the summer. Similar sort of stuff around Jarrod Bowen. It still has that link there. Liverpool, the Mail are reporting that Liverpool still hold an interest in him, but you can see where this is going. Rafinha, Bowen, there's some other ones there as well that I'll get onto in a minute. But It's interesting because Jarrod Bowen's had a really, really good season for West Ham. You know, he was scoffed at in the summer by a lot of Liverpool fans. I wasn't too sure on him, I'm going to be honest with you. But I think he's kind of really come to the fore for West Ham this year. A decent enough goal and assist return. And again, he's being linked by the Mail. But I have to preface this with there's just names everywhere. Um, Everywhere. Red Steve says we would sign an African before the AFCON. Yeah, listen, it could be one where it happens. It happens in the January and he comes in after the AFCON. I get um, where you're coming from with that. But the Jarrod Bowen, what I'd love to know what people think of this Jarrod Bowen now, because you know he was scoffed at. There's no doubt about that. You know, and by a lot of Liverpool fans that said no, that's not good enough, because I think they looked at it and went, is this what we're talking about if we're ever going to replace Mohammed Salah? And I don't think that's the case. But I'd love to know what you think of Jarrod Bowen now, because I think he's really, really come to the fore for West Ham. He was good for West Ham last year, but he really comes to the fore this season. So Jarrod Bowen, let us know what you think on him as we go along. Mickey says Liverpool will not spend in January, and I'm sure not in the summer, and blame Salah's new contract. Well, Mickey, I'm being honest with you, like, I don't get accused of being an FSG sympathiser or whatever, because I'm not. I'm very, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's middle of the road, it's middle of the road. But if that was to happen, good luck. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous. Jeremiah asked, Gav, would you take Dembele in this window since his contract is out in the summer? Ousmane Dembele? No. I think he's a brilliant talent, an exceptional talent. But his attitude and his injury record is scary. Absolutely scary. So I don't think I'll go near that. Coutinho being mentioned by David Lennon. No, we're past that. Coutinho hasn't been great with injury either, and I don't even know what would you consider him in form at any stage over the last 2 years. Possibly more. I'm not too sure. Georgie, Leicester fan. Hey man, hey Georgie, friend of the show. Harvey Barnes, love him as a player. Harvey Barnes, absolutely love him as a player. But again, I think January is difficult. But teams don't want to sell, and that's what we'll get on to in a few minutes with regards to FSG. Teams just don't want to sell. So it's one of those. Daz TV, Darren, how are you? He says, can't see us getting anyone this month that improves us. We badly need new blood, particularly in attack. New blood can enhance the current players who are the competition and also enhances the team. I couldn't agree with you more. I think but I have said before, and I will continue to say it, the next forward signing is huge. I can't see it being a stopgap. If you believe that Jarrod Bowen or Harvey Barnes or Rafinha or whoever is going to be a first choice player, a really top end first choice player in a year's time, go and sign them. If you don't. Patsy says Neto was on the cards until he got injured last year. Yeah, he was. He's a really, really good player as well. Let me see. Captain Sal is not he's not too positive over the January window. He says it's going to be the usual spin by Elliot. Klopp will be back soon. He's like a new sign and we are stronger. LOL. Yeah, I'll give my take in a minute, because we done a show last night. By the way, if you haven't checked out the 2 shows we done after the game last night, go and check them out. Me and Kev done an instant match reaction for half an hour or so, and then we did a 2-hour slog at 10 o'clock last night on the Fatback 4, which was absolutely brilliant. And a big shout out again to Shawnee and the little bit he done at the end of that show with regards to a friend of his, and we've got loads of messages in with regarding that, and you know, it was very touching what he said, and it's very sad what went on there, but the reaction of the community around those people has been absolutely brilliant. Another name, Arnaud Danjuma, Villarreal, express linking him with Liverpool, but again, you know, maybe too complicated in January, maybe look at the summer, and I immediately write these things off when I see that. I think he's a fantastic footballer, by the way. I genuinely, I think he's a really, really good player. I'd love to see Liverpool have a look at him. But again, that's the Express. Luis Diaz by the Mail, Porto's winger, highly rated by a lot of people. He's been linked as well. I think Kev spoke about him last night and said we should go and get Luis Diaz. So look, there's another one that's in the pop-up. Look, it's the same way if we were to sell somebody. We would be looking at it going, we can't sell him. We're still in the Champions League. We're still in the League Cup, FA Cup. You know, we you can't just let a player go. You nearly have to be looking at these teams to have a replacement in place before you could go and do it. And it is a tight window to do it in January, but I'm always saying that without sounding like I'm making excuses for owners, because I'm not. I'm just telling you, it's 31 days. It's hard, especially if you're waiting on another club to get a replacement, i.e. Leeds to get one for Rafinha, West Ham to get one for Bowen, Villarreal to get one as well. But Shawnee said get Diaz. Sorry, says Keith. I thought it was Kev, but it was Shawnee that said go and get him. Just on a couple of outgoings. Apparently Real Madrid are monitoring Joe Gomez situation at Liverpool with him being out of favour. He hasn't been fit. He's had an injury. He's come back. He's played here and there, bit part. He starts, of course, in the League Cup against Leicester and improved as the game went on. But I wasn't too sure on this one, but I got a little feeling there might be something in this. Particularly if Nat Phillips doesn't leave the club in January. I think he'll let Nat Phillips go if he gets the right offer. But if Nat Phillips doesn't go, I fear a little bit for Joe Gomez. I really do. I fear a little bit for him. I think, right now, Matip is holding up injury-wise, and he's been our best centre-half this season. Virgil van Dijk is Virgil van Dijk, and he's got a little bit of stick recently, Virgil van Dijk. But for me, he's still the best centre-back in the world. He's come back from injury. He looked like he was in a great rhythm. He has to come out for COVID. He misses a game or two. He's come back in. And then you've got Ibrahim Konate, who seems to be pushing Matip even for the first, for the partner Virgil van Dijk. So, Gomez, it's a let us know what you think on Gomez. Kev O'Sullivan is massively on the train for Anthony from Ajax. I'd love to ask the question on him, because anything I've seen for him, it's a bit showboaty. So Kev, you're going to need to let me know, has he got loads of end products to go with the showboat with stuff I've seen? 15 million for Phillips, said SA Scouser. Red Steve was listening to Meatloaf earlier and thought of our own Keith. Fair play. Chris Brack says, if Real Madrid want Gomez, then we are missing a trick letting him go. He's with Kev O'Sullivan on the Anthony train. We can't depend on Gomez. I loved him too, but where are we going with him? There's G10. Yeah, he's in a bit of a limbo, isn't he? At the age he's at, he's probably going to look to get first team football and be really. But look, we're saying all this. Joe Matip could go down with an injury, and we're switching between Gomez and Konate instead of Konate and Matip. The sort of way. It's one of those. Ain't happening because of injury, but Neto was quality. Yeah, Neto always gets a mention. Virgil is just half a second off on the pitch and in the head. That all comes back, says Keith Plunkett. Yeah, look, I'm not overly worried about him at all. There was another one there. Oh yes, Origi. I think it's fairly obvious from Jurgen Klopp's comments, even when Origi scores at AC Milan and stuff like that, that if he'd have got a decent offer, he would have let Origi go in the summer. I think that's fairly obvious. It is, well, in my head it is. So, and we're all talking about wanting another striker, and the reason we're wanting another striker is because, as we've said, Salah, Mane are off to the AFCON. You have got Jota left there. Firmino's coming back. And has COVID at the moment, but will be back in the next 4 or 5 days, wherever it might be, okay? But then you're looking at Minamino and Origi. Now, Minamino has got a couple of goals. He's put in a couple of decent performances. Origi the same, but it's the quality that you're looking at. It's actually not. They are both injured and COVID at the moment, but you're looking at quality, aren't you? So I think if Liverpool were to do something on that, I think you're probably looking at one of them goes out and you bring one in. Origi has been mentioned around West Ham. That's going on since last summer, but that's come back up again. And apparently 2 Italian clubs in Atalanta and AC Milan are interested too. Of course, Liverpool put a £20 million price tag on him, and that was the summer, but that never materialised. I'm wondering what the price will be now. So it may be a case of one out and one in, but again, that's AC Milan or Atalanta waiting for us to maybe get a replacement before we bring Origi in, and the whole thing goes around in a circle because everyone's looking for replacements. But it has been mentioned AC Milan and Atalanta are interested, while West Ham have a firm interest as well. FSG. We had a big chat around FSG last night, and we try to keep it as balanced as we can, because there is people on this podcast that run this podcast, contribute to this podcast, both on screen and off screen, and the feeling amongst us is very split. Despite what you might see from people saying we fucking apologise, we don't apologise to nobody for nothing, for a start. A lot of us feel that, or some of us feel, you know, they do a great job, they're great, you know, they're great stewards of the club, they spend what they get in, they don't put us in any danger, blah, 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 they make mistakes, we get all that. Some of us feel like that. Some of us feel that they're not good enough. You know, spending what you get in is all well and good, but there's something you need to do more, and would happily see FSG move on. And then some of us are in a case of, in an ordinary world, they do a really good job, but we're not living in an ordinary world. We're not living in an ordinary world when you have the likes of Man City and Chelsea around you, when you have possibly Newcastle coming in the next, for me, year to 18 months if they stay up. Manchester United, if they get that mess in order, have the power to go and spend more than Liverpool. So you have to keep up. You know, you have to keep up. You have to keep investing. You have to keep spending. You have to sometimes take risks. And the consensus last night is that, look, the model at the moment with Klopp is a good fit, because Klopp just enhances players, and we talk about, you don't need 50 and 60 million pound players. Get a 30 million pound player and they will do the job for you, because Klopp will absolutely make it work for you. I don't know where to go with FSG. I really don't. You know, I was quite open last January in the fact that they didn't do something for Jurgen Klopp, and when they did it, it was next to nothing what they done. Let's be honest. You know, Kabak didn't light anything up, and the other guy, Davis didn't play. So it's one of those where it wasn't enough last January. Now people at the end of the season went, oh well, we got third, didn't we? And what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that we had to absolutely run players into the ground to get third, and you know, we could have got second, you know, if we had made a proper signing for me. So I don't know where to go with them. You know, I give them a bit of leeway with regards to COVID, because I think it has affected everyone, especially when you amalgamate the COVID stuff with the system that they have, you know, and the way they do things. It's going to affect them massively. But I'm worried over FSG in January. I'm not sure we see much action out of FSG this January, and the reason being, let me see, and Colin Kavanagh he puts, so I'm going to bring some of these up. He says, last 3 seasons Arsenal splashed out 270 million after sales, and Liverpool have spent 70 million. We will be left behind. Now, what I would say to that, Colin, is that they spent that to try keep up, and they haven't. You know, they spent it badly, for the majority. But I get where you're coming from with regards to money that's available. Their model is different to Liverpool's. It always has been, and with the owners that they have, it always will be. But getting back to January, I'm worried over it, because our main things in January is we're losing Keita, we're losing Salah, we're losing Mane for the African Nations Cup. Now, I brought up the fixtures earlier, possibly 2 league games, an FA Cup game, 2 League Cup games, and that's it, right? Now, the club might look at that and go, you know what, we'll survive. But when they're looking through this season and they're looking at who's available and who's in and who's out, and I include the likes of Thiago in this, injured here, injured there, Keita the same, Ox has been decent with regards to fitness, but you know, Origi hasn't been around, he hasn't been reliable, Minamino hasn't been up to it where he hasn't been trusted. When you get through these months, you know, do you look back and say we could have done maybe one more in the summer? Like Kev bangs on about the fact we only had a 24-man squad instead of 25, so it's one of those. Like, I just don't know if we see anything from FSG or Jurgen Klopp in this January, because the problems that were coming up were months in advance, and they knew it, and they didn't do anything about it. And I think their argument is going to be Oh, they're only gone for 2 league games. We can't make a signing based off something in 2 league games. Now, I get that a little bit. I do get that a little bit because I can turn around and say to people, well, our next forward signing is huge, and then demand somebody because we have a couple of players missing for 2 games. But at the same time, I'd love to see them go and say, well, we want, I don't know, pick a player. Just pick Rafinha for argument's sake. Pick Rafinha and go, right, listen, we're going in now. We're going in now. We know it's going to cost us 60 million in the summer, but it's going to cost us 70 now. We're putting it down there. We're putting the 70 million down. And A, we get a player in, it's another body, and B, we've more quality in that forward line. Even after the 2 games, we've more quality, right? Because Rafinha will give you more than Origi and Minamino, and we're giving a player 6 months to bed in before we really look to see what he's made of come the start of next season. Red the Rising says, Gav, there's a huge difference between not being able to compete with some of the oil states and barely spending anything at all. We simply haven't kept the pace with the evolution of the team. I think that's a great show. And I think, you know, at the start of the season, I looked at it and I looked at the squad that we had, and I really liked the fact that Kanate came in. I really hoped Tsimikas would come on, and he has. I think Ox has been better this season than he was last. I think that's fair. I think Keita probably the same, but you want him more. COVID is a bit of an issue, obviously because players are missing. But I think you've a brilliant point there, because we shouldn't be sitting here with Divock Origi as basically our 5th choice striker. Okay, and people say, well, he's 5th choice. What do you want? Well, you know, I want to be able to rotate more than one of the front 2 at times. Basically, you're literally sitting there rotating for 3 places, unless you have to break glass in emergency with Divock Origi. I want the other fella. I want someone to come in for Divock Origi and go, here, I'm as good as Firmino, I'm as good as Jota, Salah's off, Mane's off form, I'm as good as him. That's what I want. I don't think you need 6. I think if you have 5 and they're really, really good quality, you make them an active part of your squad, because Minamino and Origi aren't. And the fact that you say there that we haven't kept the pace with the evolution of the team, I think is a really, really good show. But what can you see in January? I'm not too sure what we see in January. You know, and the reason I'm saying it is because if I was to give you 2 players to get rid of out of Liverpool's midfield, the majority of people would either say Keita and Ox, or probably Ox and Milner, right? Milner, fair enough, he's going to run out of contract. That's just the way it goes, right? Keita is 2023 as well. I think his contract is up to, and spent £56 million on him. So you have to be able to make some of that back, but you can't just decide to sell him on January the 5th and buy someone on January the 6th. It's just not that. You just can't do that. And weighing it all up, you can throw it out there that they don't want to spend money. They don't want to do this, and Klopp doesn't want to do this, and the actual logistics of doing it, I think, is difficult. But the one thing I would say is that, and Kev said it, there's one spot left in that squad since Shaqiri left and hasn't been replaced. I think it's going to be very weird, and you have to remember then that journalists were telling all of us in the summer, towards the back end of the transfer window, that 2022 was the year that Liverpool were going to look to rebuild the squad. So now we're going to have to see what happens. You know, I'm fairly okay with where Liverpool are in the league. I'm fairly okay with the performance of the season. I think we just haven't managed games quite well. I think our application hasn't been there quite well. I still haven't seen a side absolutely play destroyers at football, where you go, this is just all gone. I think it's more down to the application and how we put ourselves out on the pitch. And Dicko asked, did you watch the programme? And I haven't watched it. It's on Irish TV on Thursday, said Robbie Richmond. I will watch it on Thursday. I know isn't it 4 episodes in a row, but I will get it. I'd rather wait till it's all done and sit down and watch it together. That's the way I am. But yeah, you can make arguments over, you know, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that, but the logistics of it, I think, is hard. Red Steve just says there, I want my 5th choice forward to push on the force forward, a view to replace them, not stand in for them during cup games. Sorry. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, I only consider Origi and Minamino to start the game for Liverpool, or possibly even come off the bench when it's an emergency. Not when the other four are fit, they don't get a sniff. I'd literally sell both of them and buy a really good fella. That's what I'd do. I'd sell both of them. I'd say, listen, we're after getting 25 million quid for the two of them, or 20 million quid for the two of them, and we're putting that 20 million down on whoever. And it means then that you have Salah, you have Mane, you have Firmino, you have Jota, and you have this guy, right? And then your next move is to go, right, Firmino or Mane, are we moving one of them on? Right, well, if we are, we're bringing a guy in that we feel is as good as him. But the five absolutely push each other, and that's where I would go on that. Give me a realistic January if you can. We've 4 or 5 minutes to go. Give us a realistic January, and without getting into the whole, take everything into perspective. The past form of FSG in January, stuff that comes out with Klopp with regards to we have enough, or we're this or we're that. The players we have in our squad, what we might need to move on, and what we could bring in. Like, it's all very well saying Rafinha or Haaland or whoever, but the logistics of it is hard. So give us what you feel would be a realistic January, or maybe a realistic summer going ahead as well. Diaz, Bellingham and Zakaria I'm hoping for in the summer. Bellingham might not happen because of Haaland, says DJ. Yeah, do Dortmund sell both their biggest assets in the same transfer window, or one in January, one in June, July? I'm not too sure. But the thing is, like, I've been very interested by the fact that Ferran Torres has left Man City to go to Barcelona. Now, the word out of Pep was that he didn't want to be here, so we let him go. But I get a feeling Pep's the sort of fella that when he lets one go, he wants another one in. And someone might try jump the queue here for Erling Haaland. That's what I get the feeling. Someone might try jump the queue, because I think Mbappe's nailed on to go to Real Madrid. But there's a lot of stuff going on around about Erling Haaland, and Shawnee said last night he has an Instagram post saying he's coming to play in Spain and stuff like that. So it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. I think someone might try jump the queue from. Zed said, hi mate, just jumped on. Very welcome. Have you discussed Zakaria's rumours, allegedly us and United in from at just 6 million? Of course, Dennis Zakaria, Mönchengladbach, isn't he? He is available on a free in the summer. But again, someone might be able to put 5-6 million quid down and get him now, which will be interesting. Shawnee wasn't too sure on him last night. Kev has watched a good bit of him over the last 18 months and reckon he's absolutely perfect for us. So we'll have to wait and see on that. I seen a list as well the other day of some players that are available to talk to clubs and out of contract in the summer, and the list is impressive. Paul Pogba, Kylian Mbappe, Luis Suarez, Gareth Bale, Ousmane Dembele, Paulo Dybala, Isco, Divock Origi. I don't know if Divock Origi's out of contract at the end of the season. Insigne, who looks like he's off to Toronto, isn't he, in the MLS? Anthony Rudiger, Angel Di Maria, Frank Kessie, and Luka Modric. So there's loads of players out there. Dortmund apparently leading the race for Zakaria, says Keith. But I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to try to keep up with it as much as we can over the January, and we'll bring up any links that we see any day. A lot of them are just out there for the sake of being out there, but at least we'll throw the names at you. Let us see what you think of those players, and we go from there. If you see any news around Liverpool that we miss, absolutely come in here every day, throw it in the chat by all means. It'll mostly be me every day at 2 o'clock, Monday to Friday for the foreseeable. We're definitely going to do this for January, see how it goes, and if it works for people and they like coming on at a lunch break or whatever, we'll absolutely keep going. And as well as that, we'll put out as an audio download for people to be able to listen on their way into work, or home from work, or on their way to training, wherever, on the way to the pub, wherever you're off to. Ava wants to give Dortmund Bobby, Taki and Origi and 80 million for Bellingham. I can't see that happening. I can't see that happening. But yeah, that has been the COP update. That's what we have for today. As I said, you're more than welcome to head onto our YouTube community tab and chat around what we think might happen in January. If you have any news, bring it back tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and you can throw anything you want at me in that chat with regards to Liverpool-based news, opinion, transfers. It's Adrian's birthday today, so happy birthday to him as well. So I wanted to throw her in before we left. If you haven't hit the like button already, please do so. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share, and if you're listening on an audio download, hit the review button and give us a 5-star review to help us get more people watching this podcast. I think that's about it. Thanks a million for joining us on the first COP update, and we'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. That's it. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.